Shalom to the nation of Israel. This is Barazal coming in the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem Racha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone and to the hopeful like pushes word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. This one's gonna be titled "You Reap What You Sow," or no, don't feel bad for these rebels. You reap what you sow. Right? He's 11 years. Like, so you can see he's 11. It says 11 years old. That's pretty much a man because 11 years old when you hit puberty, that's when you're a man. 11 to 12, that's when you become a man. So like, I don't feel bad for him. This is his lot, and he did this in his past life. So I don't feel bad for him. People want to feel, oh, you're so young. So what? He's not young. He's a man. He's a young man. It's just because in this society, you raise these children. You don't raise them as they're young men. You raise them as they're still children. So what do you think they're gonna act like? They're gonna act like children. You have a 15-year-old young man and you're treating him like a child. So what do you think is gonna happen as a parent if you're treating your 15-year-old as a child? He's gonna act like a child. It's very common fucking sense, because you are part of his environment. You are part of his development. So he's gonna start doing childish things and now it's worse because he's a 15-year-old with testosterone. He's going through puberty. He's stronger, and you're still telling him to deal with his emotions like a child. And it's not just the parents doing that; it's society doing that. In the West, especially. Now you go to the East, Middle East, they're not doing that shit over there. Those boys, when they become, even before that, they're already treating him like a man. And so when they get 12, it's like, you're a man now. Like, now you're actually a man. But they've already been training him up to be a man. So when he hits 12, he already knows how to function properly. He's already moving. You know what I mean? Anyways, so before I continue, fair use. I do not own these clips, nor do I receive any type of monetary gain off of any of these videos. This is just for educational purposes only. Fair use. So I'm going to let it play. Actually, I don't need to put the music on because you can see nothing's really being said. If you look at the caption the brother put, it says 11-year-old arrested for writing a kill list at High Banks Learning Center in Deltona, Florida. Carson Curry is facing a felony charge for making a written threat to kill the school resource deputy. Confirmed Carson doesn't have access to weapons. Right? So, I mean, I don't feel bad for him. Let me see what the comments say. It says the parents must have told the cops to do that or something. Can't record a minor, and that's not body cam footage we're looking at. Yeah, possibly. Maybe he was being a disobedient child. And the thing is, technically, until he hits puberty, he's still not, well, not technically. Until he hits puberty, he's not a man. So you can't, I have to go into the law again, but I'm pretty sure you can't stone him to death until he becomes a man. Right? No, I have to look into that. But I know, I'll say this, whether it's before he becomes a man or he's just being a distributed child, right? Or he actually is a young man. When children are not listening to their parents, right? When the son is not listening to his parents, and they're trying to rebuke him, they're trying to tell him to do the right thing, and he's being lazy, he's being a sluggard, he's being a drunk, they take him to the elders in the city and they stone him to death. Right? If the parents did this, they're trying to discipline him because whatever they're doing is not working. But based off the law, you're really supposed to put him to death. Now, I don't know what he's doing at home, but if he's making a kill list, that's fucking serious. Right? You're really supposed to be put to death. You're not supposed to be putting him in a prison. You're supposed to stone him to death because he has demons on him. That's how you deal with it. It's demons. You got to think of Israel, right, as a body, right, as a human body, and a human body has multiple functions. It has ability to repair itself, repair its cells. It has ability to clean itself. It has ability to get stronger, etc., etc. Another ability it has is to it has an immune system. So the immune system fights off invaders. It fights off contagions. It fights off viruses. So demons are just spiritual viruses on Israelites. I'm talking about just Israel, but on people too. Right? I'm talking about Israel, right? So what happens with the immune system? What's the immune system's function? Like the white blood cells, what are they supposed to do? Okay, you try this time, you try once, twice, right? Nothing's working. Okay, we bring them to the elders, the rest of the other white blood cells, and we kill it. We kill that cell and we destroy it. Because if we don't, that cell is going to multiply and it's going to spread that virus amongst the other cells, and then we're going to have a bigger problem. and that's gonna be harder to deal with. So you deal with it right now. That's how you cut off wickedness. But because this is a wicked society, that's not happening. The opposite's happening. You're putting them in fucking prison. So you're putting a bunch of people with the demons on them in one area. What do you think's gonna happen? The demons are gonna fester. They're gonna get stronger, and then they're gonna spread. Right? They're gonna spread. Right. Anyways, so I don't have to go into that. I'll just go into that real quickly. I'm gonna bring out these scriptures real quick. Yeah. So you have to have that immune system, your spiritual immune system, right? We all have our own spiritual immune system. You gotta. That's why you gotta do spiritual audits. You have to do a spiritual audit every fucking day, fucking day, every throughout the day. Not just like, oh, in the morning. Da, 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 da. No, you do it throughout the day. It should be a ritual. It should be habitual, right? Every time you're in a situation, you always check yourself. You have to keep checking yourself. You don't just go through life not checking yourself. That's fucking crazy. That's nuts. That's actually fucking nuts. Just going through your day, not examining your thoughts, not examining what you're doing. Am I on the right path? Am I doing like I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to not do that. And I'm glad I don't know how to not do that because that's dangerous. That's scary. That's like driving. That's like driving blind, right? It's like driving blind, or I should say that's like driving with without a GPS system, right? You don't know maps, right? You don't have any maps, but you don't have a GPS, and you're just driving to a destination. So you might get there, you might not, right? You might make the right turn and get on there, you might not. So you don't really know what you're doing, especially if you've never been to that destination before, right? Hopefully that's a good analogy, but you get what I'm saying. So Galatians 6 and okay, verse 2. I'll read from the NLT, and I'll jump back to the KJV. It says, share each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Hamashiach, Yahushua, right? So you're supposed to talk about the shit you go through. How do you do that? You have a brother that you're close with, and you talk about it, or you just do it in the video, right? You talk about experiences you're dealing with, and this is how you deal with it, and that's how the Lord actually sups with you. He sups with you a lot when you talk about your experiences or things you're dealing with in lessons. You do a lesson on it. And while you're doing a lesson, you're teaching yourself, and you're also teaching others, right? Or, maybe you have to have a counsel, right? Because you don't want to end up like that young man, where then you get taken out. Now he's not being put to death. Who knows? I don't really know. But he's in the prison. But you don't want that to happen. So you need to. This is why you have to check yourself. And the parents, uh, they did the best they can do with the wisdom that they have, which they don't have any wisdom, because their wisdom is of the world, which is foolishness to the Most High. So that's why they're like, oh, we gotta put him in prison, right? How did they get to the point where he's writing a kill list? Like, how did they get to that point? That's why I always ask when I see these things, like, how did you get to this point? Because this doesn't just happen out of nowhere. Nothing happens out of nowhere. So there was a build up, and there was stages and phases and patterns, behavioral patterns that led to this result. So where did this start? So it was definitely the parents' fault. People can say, "Oh, it was a child." No, the parents' fault because they didn't deal with the child properly, and that child because that's who he is in the spirit. Because he obviously did this in his past life, right? There's no new thing under the sun. You're always gonna fall back in your lot. The spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. So it says, verse 3: If you think you are too important to help someone, you are only fooling yourself. You are not that important. Exactly. Right? We're all replaceable. We're all replaceable, and you don't even realize. You can have a small conversation with somebody, and it could change their whole aspect of thinking. And you just like, I didn't really say much. Maybe for you it wasn't much, but for them it was. You know, which is why you always got to work on yourself. Scriptures say, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Right? You always got to work on yourself so you have something to offer to the collective. You have something to offer to the group. You can help sharpen in other people, whether it's brothers or whether it's your woman, right? Whoever encounters you, you should be a person where every time someone encounters you, it's either they get better, right? It's either they get better or they get worse. And when I say they get worse, I mean in the sense they get judged. right? So you should be the person that always giving people the truth. And the truth is meant to make you better. But for some people that want to reject it, it's going to make them worse because they're rejecting it. So that's what I mean by worse, you know? But you should be someone that's always, you're very infectious to people in a positive way. But you're only going to be like that if you're working on yourself. If you're not working on yourself, you're going to be infectious in a negative way, right? If you don't clean up your spiritual house, right, those demons that you're not dealing with, they're going to spread on other people around you. That's just what it is. Those are spiritual viruses, spiritual parasites, spiritual contagions, right? And as you grow in the truth, it gets to a certain point where there's no excuses for certain things. There's no excuses. There's no fucking excuse, man. You just start off, that's different. Like, you're just starting off with certain things. Like, if you're like that young man, like, you're just year one. Yeah, you're just starting off. This is brand new to you. But you still got to take it seriously. Gird up your loins like a man. But when it gets to a certain point where you're kind of like, what, year 10, year 15, year 20, there's certain things you just shouldn't be doing anymore. There's those certain things. It's just not. It's not even like. You shouldn't even be having these conversations, right? You should already know what to do. You should already know what to do. So if you end up in that point, it's because you weren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. You weren't doing spiritual audits. You weren't doing spiritual examinations. You weren't checking yourself. You weren't facing your demons, right? You were just avoiding them. You're avoiding them. You're burying them. You're running from them. You're hiding from them. You're lying about the fact that you even have them. You're diving into other things instead of diving into yourself. You're diving into things outside of yourself, right? You're putting your time into things that don't actually benefit you in the truth, but might benefit you in the world, but doesn't benefit you in the truth. So you're doing everything outside of the truth. Because the truth is not just doing the breakdown, knowing the breakdowns and doing the videos. Well, it's doing the videos too, because those are the epistles, right? The digital epistles. Right? It's not just knowing the history, right? It's not even just knowing the Hebrew, which you still have to do all those things. That's part of the truth. A big part of it, and a very important part of it, is working on yourself. Because if you don't work on yourself, all those other things I just listed will be affected. Now your breakdowns are off, right? Now you're forgetting facts. Now you're forgetting breakdowns. Now you're twisting breakdowns around and saying this is that. Now you're saying, now you're saying you're the apostles, right? Now you're saying you're the disciples, right? Now you're spazzing out on brothers. Now you're judging brothers incorrectly. Now you're whispering and you're spreading rumors and slander amongst brothers. So now you're creating division. But you think in your mind that you're thinking correctly, and you're not. And this all comes back because you're not facing your own you're not dealing with your own bullshit. You're not dealing with your own demons. So now you're not benefiting the collective. You're not benefiting the brotherhood. You're actually a burden to the brotherhood. Right? You're the weak link in the chain. And one weak link in the chain breaks the whole fucking chain. Right? It breaks the whole fucking chain. The chain snaps. The Most High doesn't care. His truth is deadly serious. It's not a fucking joke. Right? You gotta this is your fucking life. You don't want to end up like that little boy. I don't want to end up like that little boy. So you have to have the fear. The Most High will fucking kill your ass. He doesn't care. And if he kills you, that's mercy. If you really piss him off, he's gonna torture you. He's gonna make you think that you're in the truth. He's gonna make you think that he'll keep you alive. Like a perfect example is Elazar. That guy's still alive with everything he did. That's why I know the Most High's gonna do some fucking crazy shit to that guy. Right? So you have to examine spiritual audits, and spiritual examination is very fucking important. It's very fucking important. Imagine an MMA fighter that never examined himself to see where his weaknesses were before for an upcoming fight. He's gonna fucking get knocked the fuck out. Imagine he never checked to see if his technique was correct, if his movements were correct, if he was thinking correctly, if he was doing like, sparring, even that spiritual sparring, if he wasn't doing any of those self-regulating things. When he gets in the ring, he's gonna get knocked the fuck out. And this is spiritual war. So in warfare, you're fighting. Right? Either you fight or you be forgotten. You get blotted out of the book. Those are the options. It's either you fight or you're forgotten. right? You don't want to be ending up walking like that little boy into a prison cell. And in this case, I'm talking about a spiritual prison cell. So Galatians 6:4, it says, pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done, and you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else. Exactly. That's just focus on your own fucking job. If everyone looked inward, there would be no fucking problems. There would be no fucking problems. But the reality is you have 2/3 and you have the elect. So the 2/3 are not going to look inward. And if they do look inward, right, they're not gonna they're gonna stop. They're gonna see they're gonna see something that they don't like about themselves, which is the demons, their past trauma, the PTSD that they haven't dealt with, the people that probably hurt them in their past, and they still haven't gotten over it. So then they're gonna stop and they're gonna say, I'm not dealing with that. I'm gonna go into something else. I'm not dealing with that. Oh, let me go into this. Right? The elect are gonna look at themselves. They're gonna look at themselves and dive deeper and figure out, why do I do this? Why do I get angry when certain people say these things? Why do I get triggered by this? Right? I need to figure this out because this is not normal. I need to fix this. Right? The elect are spiritual mechanics. They fix their own vehicles through the power of Yahweh Yahushai. Right? They're fixing their own vehicles. You have to be a spiritual mechanic and fix your own vehicle, because no one's going to do it for you. No one's going to do it for you. Nobody is going to do it for you. It's only you. When I say only you, I mean only you physically. Do you have brothers around you? 1000%. But I can talk to a brother all day long and he can tell me exactly what to do. But if I don't fucking do it, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. And he can't do it for me. He has his own vehicle he has to worry about. Right? And what it also says, and you won't need, it says, let me read it again. Pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get satisfaction of a job well done. Exactly. So don't be competing with brothers too. That spirit of competition is a worldly thing. That's not a Hebrew thing. You're not supposed to be competing with other men. You're supposed to sharpen other men, not compete with them. Right? And if a brother talks about something that he's done in his life, which was actually accomplishment, and he's tying it with the truth, and you're getting jealous about that, then you have a fucking problem. You have a fucking problem. If a brother's just talking about himself and you're getting jealous, you have a fucking problem. But right there, you getting jealous, you should be looking at, why am I getting jealous about this? Why do I feel this emotion? He's not doing anything wrong. Where's this coming from? And that's how you find the truth. You have to ask yourself questions. But you can't find something that you're not looking for. Right? So a lot of men are not looking for things. And that's why you're not finding things. Right? And we're getting closer to the Passover. So Satan's ramping up. He's ramping up. Right? He's ramping up. Because Satan is the Most High's attack dog. He doesn't have feelings and emotions, and he doesn't get tired. He doesn't get tired where he has to go to sleep and recharge. That doesn't happen. He's a spirit. So you need to be fighting constantly. That's why I said that earlier. It has to be every single day throughout the day. You have to be constantly examining what the fuck you're doing. Why am I getting angry? Like, I could be making this video right now and someone can listen to this and get angry about what I'm saying. Is that person going to ask themselves why they're getting angry about what I'm saying? Because I'm not lying about anything. So why are you getting angry? Right? You got a lot of emotional men, man. Yeah, seriously. And they don't even realize they're emotional. They think that they're not emotional. Because usually when people are emotional, they'll look at the person that's saying something and say that person is just being rude. That person is just being disrespectful. That person's this. Them. It's never them. They're never wrong in any scenario. It's always somebody else. It's always somebody else. It's never them. This is why I said before, if everyone just looked inward, a lot of the problems would just disappear. There would be a lot of problems would just disappear if you just looked inward and faced your fucking demons. Right? And that's a problem that Israel has. These 2/3 have that problem, obviously. They don't look inward. Verse 5. For we are each responsible for our own conduct. Right? KJV, for every man shall bear his own burden. Right? So if you are only able to bear your own burden, shouldn't you understand your burden that you're bearing? Wouldn't it make sense to understand it? Why all these things happen in my life? Whether it's with your dad, maybe your dad was never in your life. Maybe it's your mom, right? Maybe it's your siblings. Maybe it's your woman. Maybe she took your children away. Maybe maybe you're not rich. Maybe you don't have money. Maybe you're struggling financially. You got to figure out why don't I have money? Maybe because you're bad with money. Because that's a curse. Why are you bad with money? Because you're not following the rules, right? You have to figure that out. Then you got to go ask yourself. You got to ask yourself your questions. You got to be a spiritual investigator. You got to spiritually interrogate yourself. And when I say yourself, I'm talking about your brain, because your brain is where all your memories are, right? That's where all your memories are. So you got to go into your memories and figure out what happened here. How did I become this person? Like, how did I become with these problems and issues? I need to figure this out. I need to figure this out because it's not right. My car, I keep putting my car in drive, and then it stalls. Why is this happening? It's not supposed to be doing this. Cars are supposed to, when you put it in drive, it's supposed to drive. So why is it stalling? I need to figure this out. You got to be diligent. It says, those who are taught the word of Yahweh Yahushua should provide for the teachers, sharing all good things with them. It's talking about tithes. Don't be misled. You cannot. Okay, let me read it in KJV. It says, verse 7, be not deceived. Yahweh Yahushua is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So you can't fool the Most High and say, oh, this person told me to do this, or this person was doing this, so that's why I did this. No, you did it because you wanted to do it, because you weren't doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? If you get wickedness is because you sowed wickedness, right? If you're constantly having problems with your woman, it's because you are creating those problems also. Because everything comes back to the man. The man is the head. The man is the fucking head. The man is the leader. So if you're having problems with your woman, it's because you're also part of the problem. You have to accept that reality that you are part of the problem. Because if you don't, then you're saying that you're not doing anything wrong. You're not part of the problem. You're just a perfect creature. You're perfect. You've reached Yahushai's level. You never created any issues. You never did anything to this woman to make her act this way. It was just her. And let's say that scenario is the scenario, which is I highly doubt it. Let's say that's the scenario. I'll still say this, you picked that woman. So clearly something's still wrong about you because you picked a woman that's toxic. What the fuck does that say about you? You would have to be toxic also. So your ability to discern shit is not correct. So you need to fix that. Why did I pick a woman that constantly gives me problems? Maybe I hate myself a little bit. I need to fix that. Why do I hate myself? Where does that come from? Right? You got to ask yourself questions. Because it's your life. Your life is on the line. No one can do it for you. It's just you versus you. Right? Or you're going to end up like that little boy. Or sorry, that young man. Slakia. It says, verse 8, KJV, for he that soweth to his flesh shall of his flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to his spirit shall of the spirit reap life everlasting. Right? And I'm going to jump back to the NLT, verse 9. It says, yeah, so if you keep sowing righteous things, I promise you those seeds will start to bloom. I promise you that. If you're consistent about it, it will start to bloom. It will. Right? If you're watering it, you plant the seeds, you make sure the soil's good, right? It's getting enough sun, it will start to sprout and it will start to grow. But you got to be patient. And patient means suffering, which means you got to endure. So you got to endure you dealing with your demons. You got to face your demons because you don't know when the Lord is going to lift you up of that burden. Right? He decides when he believes, okay, that's enough. Then he will increase you. And you don't know when that's going to happen. And that's part of the test. He wants to see who's really serious about this. Right? And you can't rely on brothers to carry you along the path. Everyone's in their own walk. Everyone's in their own race. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm not carrying anyone on my back while I'm climbing a mountain. I'm not doing that. Right? Because the climb is treacherous. One wrong move and you slip and fall and you die. But will I aid someone else that needs some help? Yeah, it's like, yo, bro, watch out for that. On that next step, watch out. There's a snake there. It might try to bite you. Watch your hand. It's like, Khan. That's what you do. And you share this, okay, then you get to we all get a certain point in the mountain. He's like, yo, on that next part, Watch out for this. I was coming there. I was coming on the sixth slope, right? I'm just making things up. I was coming on the sixth slope. Maybe he's on the fifth slope, right? I was coming on the sixth slope. And I saw there was a Yeti over there. So make sure you have your bow and arrow. Shoot it in the head. I shot it in the body. It didn't work. It hit me a couple times. I took some blows, but I shot it in the head and it died. So one's gonna come up for you. Make sure you shoot it in the head. Con. Right? That's what you do. Iron sharpens iron. Because some men are gonna go through more shit than others, and then you learn to that shit, and then you share it to the collective. You're like, yo, don't do this, right? But I can't go there with you and do it for you. You just have to take the information I'm taking and apply it like a man. That's it. That's it. It's like a video game. We're all playing the same video game, but everyone's on different levels in the video game. Some are already ahead. Maybe some people are on level 20 and you're on level 10. So they can see what you're going through in level 10 because they already dealt with that. But they can tell you what to do, right, to make it happen, to get past it a lot faster. So you don't have to deal with a lot of the bullshit that they had to go through because they took a lot of damage. They still got through it, but they took a lot of damage. But they can tell you the information so you don't have to take as much damage as them, right? So that's how they sharpen you. Because the Most High has men set up in certain positions for a reason. That's just how he made everyone. He made everybody different. Okay. Okay. So back in the NLT verse 9, it says, so let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. You see? But you don't know when that time is. So you have to consistently do it. You can't do it for a week. You can't do it for 3 months and say, it's not working. I'm going to go back to do what I was doing before. Okay. You're not serious. You're not serious. And I'm telling you, from my own experience of playing sports on a high level, the guys that give up are the guys that never make it. It's the guy that doesn't give up is the one that makes it. He's just the one that just never gave up. It doesn't mean he didn't fall down. He just got back up and kept on pushing forward. It's a guy that says, this is too hard. Because in his mind, he didn't count the cost. He didn't really sit about what he was getting involved in and saying that, you know what, this might not happen right away. I have to be prepared. I have to be prepared to go through a lot of shit, right? But if I'm doing this, I have to finish it. I can't quit because it's going to get tough or because I'm not seeing things right away. I have to finish it, right? This truth is serious. Hosea 10. Okay. KJV, it says, sow to yourselves in righteousness, reap in mercy. Break up your fallow ground, for it is time to seek the Lord, Yahweh Yahushai, till he come and rain righteousness upon you. Right? Let me read an NLT. It says, I said, plant the good seeds of righteousness, and you will harvest a crop of love. Plow up the hard ground of your minds. Exactly. So you have to go inward, right, in your mind, in your brain, right, and start digging in there and figure out what the hell's going on. Why do I have these problems? Why is this happening in my life? Why is this happening? Why do I get triggered when this guy says this? Why do I get jealous when a brother talks about his life? You know, why am I doing these things? What's going on here? You know, why am I always making jokes about brothers in a way to embarrass him when he doesn't even make jokes about me? Why am I doing that? Right? You got to ask yourself questions, because I'm telling you, the Lord is watching everything, and eventually he's gonna lose patience. He's gonna get rid of people. He's just gonna get rid of them, because he's like, you had time to do what you're supposed to be doing, and you weren't fucking doing it. The Lord doesn't care. He does not care. Right? Because of Yahweh Shai, we have mercy and grace, but even that mercy and grace is gonna you don't know how much you have. And what you have is based on what the Yahweh Shai gave you to do and what he knows you're capable of doing. He knows exactly what you're capable of doing. And if you're not fucking doing it, eventually he's gonna get rid of you because you're not serious. It's just about the parable about the talents, the servants with the talents. One was given, I think, 2, and one was given 5, right? And one was given 1, and the one given 1, he hid it under a napkin. The other ones got double because they used it. So you always got to try to the best of your ability. If you need to get help, then get help. But you got to think, this is your life. This is your life. Your life is on the fucking line. This is not a joke. Yeah, this is a good one. So the next one. So Micah 6. I didn't mean to make this long, Slovakia. Micah 6 and okay, Micah 6 and 15. I read in the KJV. It says, "Thou shalt sow, but thou shalt not reap. Thou shalt tread the olives, but thou shalt not anoint thee with oil, and sweet wine, but shalt not drink wine." Right. So that at that point, when that happens, the Lord's done with you. That's when He's done with you. He's been sitting there watching. He's giving you so many chances, you know, and you're still talking shit about men behind their backs. You're still not. You have problem with men, but yet you'd rather go and congregate and gossip about the individual instead of just confronting him about the problem that you have with him, right? You'd rather do that, that's woman behavior. That's a feminine spirit, right? You have a problem with a man and you go in a group and you talk about him behind his back instead of just confronting him. You're acting like a woman because that's literally what women do. They gossip. If you have a problem with this, fucking confront him and deal with it because for all you know, it's just you're just assuming something about the man that he's not even doing. Is you're actually the problem because you have trauma, right? You have insecurities that you haven't dealt with, and the man is just being himself, and you think he's doing something else, and he's not doing anything. And that's usually what the problem is. And that's why I said before in the beginning, I said if people just looked inward first, they would solve a lot of problems. A lot of problems would be solved if you just fucking looked inward. Instead of pointing the finger at somebody else, point the finger at yourself first. Look at yourself first and see, am I causing this problem? Is it me? Let me check first before I even think about if it's this person. Right? But at this point right here in verse 15, the Lord's done with you. Because he's been sitting, he's been waiting, he's been watching, he's been warning, right? He's been rebuking, you're not listening, right? And then you're doubling down and being more of a hypocrite. You're talking more shit about people, right? But eventually he's like, oh, I'm done. Get rid of him. And then when he gets rid of you, he takes the Holy Spirit, you're not going to know the Holy Spirit's gone. That's the scary part. You won't know it's gone. You think it's still on you, but it's not. Right? So like I said, this video I'm making, if it's bothering someone and someone gets annoyed, I don't really give a fuck, to be completely honest. I truly don't care. I don't care. But if you're getting agitated by what I'm saying, then you should ask yourself why. Why? Because I'm not lying about anything I'm saying. Nothing I said was a lie. So that should indicate to you that you have a fucking problem. And you gotta go deal with that shit. Deal with it in private. No one needs to know. Deal with it in private, or you have someone that you're close with, you talk about it. But like, you have to fucking deal with it, bro. You have to. Or you're gonna be fucked. You're gonna end up like Al-Azhar. You're gonna end up like that fucking nigger. That guy's a nigger. That guy's a fucking nigger. I never liked that fucking guy. I never liked him. Every time I seen this guy, when I first came in, I was like, this guy's off, man. This guy's not Metal Lord. He's just fucking off. And look, lo and behold, you got exposed. Because the thing is, with guys like Al-Azhar, there's always a behavioral pattern. That's just universal law that the Most High has. There's always a pattern of behavior. Always. Always. It's just that you have to have... Not everyone has the ability to see those behavioral patterns. That's what I realized. Not everyone's able to see it. And that comes back to discernment. Not everyone can see these behavioral patterns because they don't even know what they're looking at. So how would they know to even identify what this is? It doesn't register in their brain what they're seeing. But there's always a behavioral pattern. Like Judas Iscariot, there was a behavioral pattern with him. Saul, there's a behavioral pattern with him. Right? There's always a pattern of behavior. Sirach 39 and 26, it says, oh, Slack, that's not what I want. Okay, yeah, verse 28. It says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of their destruction they pour out their force, and appease the wrath of him that made them. Right? So the Most High will send um, spirits on individuals to test them, right? To test them. But you gotta, that's where you gotta be praying. That's where you gotta be fasting. You gotta be doing your lessons. You gotta be studying, because this is spiritual warfare. If you don't do that, those spirits will take you. They'll take you. They'll take you. And like I said, when the Holy Spirit's gone, you don't know that it's gone. You be like Elazar, where you're saying that you guys are cosplaying Israelites. Then he also said, "Cursed is the man, trusteth in man." This is what he said to his congregation. He said, "Cursed is man that trusteth in man." Right? So like, I have the fear, you know. I'm seeing all these examples of men. I'm like, yo, bro, I don't want that to happen to me. Yahweh Yahushua that doesn't happen to me, and I'm going to try to my best of my ability to stay on the straight and narrow. So if you're doing things, and that's another thing I need to say, if you're doing things that are not helping you stay focused, then you should stop fucking doing them. Right? If you're hanging out with people in the world that's not helping you stay focused, stop fucking hanging out with them. Right? If you're doing extracurricular activities that's not helping you stay focused, stop fucking doing it. Right? Because clearly those things, you can't handle balancing those things and the truth. You might have to take a pause on those things and fix your fucking car, figure out what's going on with your vehicle. Then maybe you can come back to this. Maybe you can come back to this and see if you can do this again, if the Lord allows it. But you have to think about what is going to help me get to the end. What is going to help me to get into the chariots? What is going to help me? What's going to push me there, right? Or what's going to slow me down? What's going to anchor me? What's going to pull me back? And you got to do, like I said, spiritual audits. You got to be a spiritual detective, a spiritual investigator, right? Because when you do that, then you'll find out, okay, this is not helping me with anything. Why am I doing this? This is a waste of my fucking time, right? It's a waste of my fucking time. You got to use your time wisely. What you do every day is going to matter because it compounds every fucking day. Every single day, what you're doing every day matters. It compounds, right? It compounds. Within months, within weeks, within months, within years. You should not be the same person you were in year one, coming into the truth. You should, from year one to even year two, you should see a difference between who you were in year one to who you are in year two. You should be able to see a difference. If you can't see a difference, then you have to sit back and ask yourself, what's going on? Am I actually working on things? Like, am I studying enough? Like, what do you need to work on? But I always say, this is me, right? Everyone's different. I say, working on your inner shit is more important initially, because if you don't work on you don't face those demons, it will start to spread in everything else. That leaven will start to spread in other areas, and cause a whole lump to rise, right? And the reason why, from what I notice, is that the objective stuff is a lot easier for people to do. And I say objective, I mean like, prophecies, breakdowns, history, because that's not subjective to you as an individual. That has nothing to do with your experiences, right? The subjective stuff is hard for men to do, anyone to do, really, myself included, because it's you. It has to do with your life. It has to do with the people in your life that hurts you. Maybe the women you dealt with, maybe your family, right? The PTSD, the trauma that you dealt with. That's harder to deal with, and that's where you're gonna get the most. You're gonna reap the most rewards from. Is that area? Not saying you're not gonna reap rewards from doing the other stuff. I'm not saying that, because you still have to do that. Period. Regardless, all I'm saying is, if you just try to do the objective stuff and think that's good enough, it's not. The objective stuff doesn't affect the subjective, but the subjective affects the objective. So the inner stuff affects the outward stuff, but the outward stuff doesn't affect the inward stuff. So that's why I say it has more weight, but they're all important. But if it came to someone like coming into a company, okay, there's something going on in the company, like the company's losing money, right? You're I don't know what they call it, company business analyst. The first thing I'm going to do is look at the root, look at the foundation, what's going on in the foundation, because that's going to tell you everything that's going on the top. If you look at the foundation, it'll tell you everything. It's just like in personal training. I'm a personal trainer. When you look at someone, right, you always look at their feet. Your feet will tell you about everything else that's going on the rest of the body, because if the feet's unstable, the rest of the body's going to be unstable. Right? If the feet are unstable, the hips might be out of place just because of the feet. because of the shoes that the person's wearing. So you got to look at the root. So in this case, I read it about going and plowing the soil of your minds. That's what it said, roughly paraphrasing, right? You got to go plowing the soil of your mind. That's the root, your brain, right? You have to go to your brain and your memories and your PTSD and all that shit and figure out, why do I do this shit? Why do I get angry when this person does this? Why do I have a problem with this person, individual? Why am I getting jealous when this person talks about themselves? Why am I talking shit about this person instead of confronting them? Why do I always need to have people around me all the fucking time? Why can't I be on my own? Right? There's nothing wrong with having brothers around. There's nothing wrong with that, but you shouldn't like what's the word I'm looking for? You should want it but not need it. You know? You should want to have brothers around but not need it. Like, if they're not around, I'm good. You know, I'm doing, because you're busy doing your own shit. You're working on yourself. So like, either way, you're still good. You know? But it shouldn't be like, if you can't survive unless brothers are around. You don't want to be in that type of spirit, because then something's wrong. Because that's not normal. It's not normal. Anyways, that's it on that. Shlakia. They close out by saying, Kahala Yahweh Hashem Yahushai Hashem Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, great millstone, and to the whole for like pushes word and truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. Abad, Babal, Kwam Yasha Allah, and Shawab.